Okay, my friends, here we go. Just in time to learn the ways of prophecy. So, we mentioned last time that just like there's many different levels of wise people, there's many different levels of prophets. Lahavdil, there's many different levels of golf players, right? There's people that are good, decent, really good. I guess you could depend on the handicap, right? And then accordingly. Hockey players, good, decent, better. Who's the best player?
Gretzky.
Of all time, Gretzky? Yeah, arguably so. Really? Of all time? That was
the only one I've ever heard of, so probably.
Yeah? I didn't know he's that good. Sometimes like for that era, he's like the best. Yeah, really?
He's probably number one, yeah.
Of all time.
Basically not even arguable.
Really?
If you only have his assists, he still has more points than anyone else.
It's a different era.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so fine. So it seems that there's a consensus that he's like the greatest. So the idea being is that we have such a thing of good, better, the best. Use that to understand prophecy as well. But here we're not talking about putting pucks into mesh. We're talking about refinement of the antenna of your consciousness that will allow for you to pick up the broadcast of the creator, sustainer of heaven and earth. A little bit different than pucks on nets. A little bit more refined, even though you'll tell me, no, those European guys, it's all finesse. But still, it's a different type. It's a spiritual refinement process. And we mentioned the last few days together the work that has to go in to refining one's character traits. We said you have to be rich. We explained what rich means. Maybe rich that you're happy with what you have. Ezu Asher, Samech Bechelkoi. Gibor. We explained, does Gibor mean he's got big muscles? Or Gibor means Ezehu Gibor, Hakovesh et Yitzro, that he overcomes his base negative character traits. He gets up in the middle of the night to give the bottle, doesn't yell at his kids. That's a real Gibor. We explained that the prophet has to be humble, and many such character traits. Now we're going deeper into the story, and we're going to explain when does the prophecy happen. Meaning, can I just be going like this down the street and all of a sudden just like, I see the light. Is that how the prophetic experience happens? Or is it something that is more subtle or happens in a specific way? So says the Rambam, V'chulam ein royin mara ha-nevuah, all prophets except Moshe Rabbeinu receive their prophecy b'chaloim b'chezyon halayla, either in a dream. Did you know that? The prophecy happens either in a dream at night, oy bayoim acher shetipol aleim tardema, or by day after they fall into some type of a trance. So there's two times it could happen. Can it happen day and night? Yes. At night, it's through a dream-like experience. And by day, it's through a trance-like experience. What does the prophet look like when that happens? Kamosha Ne'emar, like the pasuk says, "B'mara Elov," in a vision to him isvada, I made myself known. B'chaloim adaber boy, and in a dream I spoke. So you see both things here. We see it was either a vision or something like a dream. So it's either a vision at night, a vision by day, or a dream at night. Now, we're going to explain what happens to the prophet when that prophecy is happening. And we're going to see that it was pretty intense. Now, I want you to think about if that was pretty intense, both for the nighttime prophecy and the daytime prophecy, or maybe just one of the two. V'chulam, kishim isnabim, and everybody, when they would have that prophetic experience, evareim is zazin, their limbs would shake intensely, v'koyach haguf koishel, and the power of their body would weaken. Ve'ishtenoiseyem mistarfois, and their mind was like either confused or taken away. So you see, physically the body is shaking or convulsing. The body is also like becoming weakened. Sounds like some type of a seizure. Like they're losing control of their body. And their mind is like being taken away. There's a discussion if this was both the dream experience and the day, or no. This was only the experience the prophet would have when they would have a daytime prophecy. But when they were sleeping at night, they were actually able to have the prophecy in like a peaceful sleep state. Or some say no, even, that's a big discussion here. Or no, even at night when they were sleeping, they would have this physical contortions that were happening. Now, why is this all so relevant and important? Because essentially the idea is like this. Remember, the prophecy is a download from a total world beyond the five senses. How do we usually relate to the world? Essentially, exclusively, our five senses. The prophetic experience is that you refine the most subtle of your five senses, the koyach hadimoyon, the imaginative faculties, that become so refined that it's able to pick up on a broadcast of the higher spiritual worlds. And therefore the prophet receives something that is not being communicated through five senses anymore. And essentially what happens is the prophet's five senses are overwhelmed by the experience. His body, who's normally used to just experiencing the world through five senses, is no longer like, it can't handle, it's too overwhelming for the prophet. And therefore it wasn't like they were just chilling out and were able to handle a prophecy. Their bodies were unable to handle that experience. The only one that could handle the experience, and we're going to speak about this more at length, was Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu could literally just be sitting here like this and be downloading prophecy.
So even Abraham Ravina.
And that's one of the proofs they say. Avram Avinu, he brings exactly that right now. Well, first, before Avram, he says, why is it important that the body in a certain way is like completely out of the picture? The body like loses power, shakes. The mind is like not there, the lower mind. You know, who you are is not your thoughts. Your thoughts are just a garment on your soul. You ever watched your thoughts go by? So if you're watching your thoughts, then who's the you watching the thoughts? You're deeper than your thoughts. And then you can even watch yourself watching your thoughts. Try this for a second. Just notice a wall. Just look at that wall over there, that cupboard. Okay, you're watching the wall. Okay, watch yourself watching the wall. You realize there's a you watching the wall, but then there's a you that could watch yourself watching the wall. And then there's a higher self that could watch you, who's watching yourself watch the wall. And you could go to higher states of consciousness where you're aware of more of the real you. Now, certain meditative exercises take you through this journey of going deeper and deeper into the real you. It's really trippy. Once you really get this one, like you watch yourself watching something, it's easy to start it with something like a wall. And when it clicks and you get that moment of like, oh my goodness, I've just started watching myself. So you think about who is the me? Because the me is observing the guy I thought I was. I'm just a guy like watching, yeah, here's that wall. Wait a second. I could watch myself watch the wall. I could watch my thoughts go by. So we think we're our thoughts, and the Baal Tanya talks about this a lot, that our thoughts are just like clothing to us, in the same way that when I talk to Adam, I'm not talking to that cool t-shirt. That's not him. And I'm not even talking to his skin. That's also like clothing to the soul. I'm talking to the soul, to the neshama. So your thoughts are just clothing. They express something, but they're not the you. So the prophet, this is what it means, Vishtanaiseim mistarfais, is that the lower mind of the prophets just gets removed. So all of his five senses are like numbed, are almost out of the way. V'tishar hadeya penuya. And now his das, which means his higher cognitive consciousness, is now open. It's not being bothered by the body and the five senses anymore. Lahavin mashatira. That now his higher consciousness is open to understand the prophetic experience. Kamoishanemar be'Avram Avinu, like it says by Avram Avinu, that how did the prophecy begin in the Bris Bein HaBesarim, which is an amazing prophecy, which is a prophecy that this land was given to Klal Yisrael, and a very important prophecy to learn the Bris Bein HaBesarim. And Hashem appears to Avram, and it says there, Hine ema chashecha gedola noifelas alav. Like a terror, a great fear fell upon Avram. That his body was like gripped. And therefore his body became like out of the picture. His body was like gripped with this experience that then occupied his body, that his body wouldn't interfere with his das, and then the das, the koyach hadimayon, could then have the prophetic experience and be free, not with any five senses. And as we explain, when the prophet has that prophetic experience, it is 100% clear that they're having a communication from God, and that they're no longer the same person. And we'll see things in the Derech Hashem from the Ramchal that will go even deeper into the prophetic experience. And the same thing with Daniel. When Daniel the prophet, when the angel Gavriel had communication, appeared in the dream of Daniel, Ve'er es amara hagdoila azois ve'hoidi nepach olai lamashchis ve'loi atzarti koyach. So Daniel says, he said, my face became like blackened, meaning he became, all bodily functions became suspended. That he could then just have his higher self aware. Now you know what happens and when it will happen that our bodily functions will be suspended? Death. We should all live until 120 years. B'ezrat Hashem. But that's a little bit what's going on here, is that that's why death allows for your higher consciousness to open up. Because we're no longer identified with the world of five senses anymore. Yeah?
What happened when the Yids were at Mount Sinai? Did they all become prophets?
Yes, and we died.
They died and came out.
They died. We fully died at Mount Sinai. Fully.
Isn't the whole
And we were resurrected.
proof of Torah that you say, will another nation see Hashem and live? We died, but then we lived.
we were brought back to life, and we received the book that God said, you saw this, and you're alive now, and you're still passing it down. Moshe's writing it all down, and Moshe says in the Torah, you all saw God speak. And Hashem says that in this book, you, the Jewish people, all witnessed this and lived. And here we are, alive now. We died then, came back to life, and now we're receiving this within the 40 years, and we're all agreeing we are alive who all saw this happen.
It has to be the same generation that saw it,
Yes.
got the book. So even though they died, it's not like they forgot. They still remember seeing it.
For sure. For sure.
just had
The
to
soul
die.
doesn't forget. The souls.
Did their brains forget?
We all were very aware of what happened. We were immediately resurrected by the Tal, and it happened twice. It was a long day. It happened twice. We died both when Hashem said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, and when Hashem said, Lo yeh lecha Elohim acharim al panai. Both of those times, the prophecy was so strong that we popped out of our bodies. I mean, death is the dislodging of the soul from the body. That's what death is. That's the moment of death, when the soul no longer is operating in the body. Yeah.
So is the reason why they have prophecy at night, because the soul is partially dislodged?
Is that the body is at a state where the body is not bothering the soul anymore. The soul, let's say it this way, is not being impinged and hidden by the darkness of the body. The body is great, but the body has a way of confusing us to think that this is my identity. We put a lot of identity around our body. A lot. You've seen these pythons, you know what I'm saying? Put a lot of identity around our bodies. A lot. And if that's who we think we are, so then we've got a long way to go. We're in a body. And that's why the prophetic experience is so powerful, because you're earning it. In a body is an amazing thing. But only Moshe was able to have a full experience while in his body, where every other prophet, ever, there's been millions of prophets, every other prophet, the body has to be like numbed to such a degree that the person has full identification with his higher faculty to receive that broadcast. So in summary, what did we see together? We said that the prophet has the experience of many, many different levels, many, many different levels of what the level of the message is, how clear the message is, the vividness of the experience. In the same way we said, someone who's wise, somebody could have a certain basic level of wisdom, can have even deeper level of wisdom, more impressive wisdom. So to the prophet, the experience of the prophet will be with greater and greater clarity the greater the prophet is. But what all have in common is they have now experienced something completely different. As we explained, they become like ke'ish acher, like another human being. We said because their soul intermingles with the lowest level of the angels, called the Ishim, the people, and those angels make that person turn into another type of person, like another category of human being, that they have touched what's really going on, what life really is. And then we said all of the prophets have their prophecy except for Moshe Rabbeinu in one of two ways, either a chaloim laila, either a dream experience, or they have it as a mara yoim, by day they get a vision. If they have it at night, we said there's a discussion if the prophet is able to actually stay calm and sleep and experience the vision. Or no, he also has his limbs being mizdazea. But by day, everybody agrees that the prophet's limbs start flailing, the power of the body starts weakening, and the mind gets taken away. The lower mind, the monkey mind, gets removed. And then the das of the prophet, which means his higher consciousness, to hook in to that broadcast, is opened up, and he could just receive the broadcast, which is always being broadcast, as we're explaining. And then we said that this is what happened to Avram Avinu, this is what happened to Daniel, where they went through this phase of their body being like muted and removed from the story, their five senses being muted in order to receive this download. And we explained as well that this is what death is. Death is the muting of the five senses, which then allow our das, which is our true consciousness, to open up. And the idea that we go through a lifetime and then have a death, we should live until 120 years, is that through a lifetime, we're able to identify with our das. Meaning that you could choose to identify with your higher consciousness as opposed to just your base self, means that to the degree that you were choosing to identify with your higher consciousness, that's the person that you'll be for eternity, and the ability that you'll have to then hook in to that prophecy, to the degree that you chose to be that das. That's why free will is mega significant in everything that we do. We should be zoicha, my dear friends. I think the next couple days we'll do some Chanukah topics, b'siyata d'shmaya, and then go back into the next series of halachas on prophecy. We should be zoicha once and for all that the time of Mashiach will come, and also our pull to this world will not be as intense, that prophecy will once again return in mass, and we'll be zoicha mamish to have true connection to the great pleasure of being bonded with the Creator, Sustainer of heaven and earth. And we should be zoich to this with Mashiach Tzidkeinu b'meher of Yameinu. Amen. Have a wonderful day, my friends.